Hello and welcome everyone today. I am really, really happy to welcome my daughter, Mallory, in the Bold Leader Spotlight. And we are going to dive into who she is and what she does. But I wanted to put that out in full transparency because I have two beautiful, intelligent, wonderful daughters. One is an artist doing her own thing, and that will be an interview for another point in time. And today we're going to focus on Mallory. So Mallory is an entrepreneur, a consultant, and a trainer specializing in artificial intelligence. She is the co-founder of Human Eye, which is a startup that leverages AI to personalize education for children with special needs, combining technological innovation with practical solutions. She also leads G&T, a training and consulting organization that's dedicated to integrating generative AI. Her training programs cover key topics such as prompt engineering, workflow automation, and data security, helping businesses, entrepreneurs, and public organizations enhance productivity, streamline repetitive tasks, and fully harness the potential of AI technologies. And so I wanted her on today because I am fully impressed with what she has accomplished at 23 years old. So, Mallory, thank you for being here. And just tell us, why did you agree to participate and also have this conversation with your mother?
Well, thank you so much for having me here. I wanted to participate because, first of all, this is the first time that I'm actually doing something with my mother, and my mother's an entrepreneur as well, and an amazing entrepreneur, an amazing leader. My mother always inspired me when she used to be CEO and still inspires me today. So just being here with you and with her today was something that I really wanted to do. And I thought that giving a young age point of view as a leader at 23 years old would be interesting for this summit. So I was just very happy to be able to have this opportunity and come here and speak today.
Great. And that's what I really wanted also, was to have the younger generation represented, because they have so much, I think, that they can teach us and we can learn from them. And so I think all of the listeners are going to be really, truly inspired by your story, Mallory. So let's dive in. And today you're an entrepreneur. You have started 3 companies. You are 23 years old. So I'd love for you kind of to go back to the beginning and start at your first company and tell us a little bit about how your entrepreneurial journey evolved, what you did. So tell us your story.
So, great question. So, everything started when I was still a student in my engineering school. I found great associates, great people that loved entrepreneurship just like me. And I was working in a company during my studies. And after a couple months there, I started to realize that I was missing something in me. I really enjoyed the freedom. My mother always gave me a lot of hard work mentality, American mentality that I love, where I love to work and make my own money, but I like to be my own boss and be independent on that. And working for the first time in a very, very big company in France, I gave me a point of view of how it works, like the hierarchy and the organization. And so I realized that it just wasn't meant for me. I wanted to build my own power, my own freedom. Even if I had to earn less at the beginning, I didn't really care. So I started a first company. So I followed a training online to know all the basics, like how, like legally, what's a website, what's marketing, because as an engineer, I didn't have these skills. And so I founded my first company, which was a e-commerce. It was an online store where I was selling choppers, so very basic. I spent something like eight months on it, or like more, maybe a whole year on it. Really hard work with someone who still works with me today. And that was like the first experience. And I invested money into it. I invested quite a lot of money. I invested a lot of time, and I made minus K euros on it, something like that. It's a little blurry there. And I was actually, at the first, you're disappointed, but then that was a big shift that I'm going to talk about more probably later. But the shift was, I did not lose money. I invested money in getting to know how a company works, what are the different topics to know. And it just gave me so much knowledge. And I was like, okay, perfect. It didn't work. Let's start a new company. And because I was convinced that you never succeed at first. You succeed because you try, and then at some point it pays off. So I founded a second company, which was way different because it was a startup. And a startup is a whole different world. It was a startup AI. So mom just explained it earlier, but it was a startup where AI helps kids for educational purposes. And that was it's still going on today. It's been 2 years, but same thing here. I'm not making money out of it. It's a very big project, but we're like talking with the banks and everything. And at the same time, I founded a third company because I knew that startup was another world of like, it takes a while to, find funds and everything. So I started a third company, and this third company has finally paid. But why did it pay? It's because I learned so much from the first and the second company. And I graduated recently, and I decided not to join a company, not to find a job. I decided to be full-time on my third organization and my startup. So that's kind of my journey. And I would never want to go back in a company, at least for now. I'm really happy with this journey, and it's just at the beginning, and it's finally starting to pay, and I'm trying to reach now a point where I'm trying to scale. Things are going great, but it's because I learned from my second experience.
So this has been, for the third company, it's been about 6 months.
Yes.
Now. So tell us a little about how you had the idea for this company and what led you to make the decision to like go all in this company.
That's a good question. So basically the story went like this. Once I graduated with my associate, we wanted to build a new company, something simple, something that was not as complicated as a startup, and something that where we didn't have to manage any stocks, like an e-commerce type of business. So we wanted to create websites at first. So we started like for an entire month. We worked Monday through Sunday, 7 to like 8 at night. And like we didn't stop working for this company. So we trained, we built a website, we built an offer, everything that was important. And during this month, my mother at some point asked me for tips on how to use AI because she knew I was using AI a lot due to my experience with the startup. So I gave her tips, and then my mom told me, my God, you just, like, I just saved days of work with this tip that you just gave me. And I was like, that's weird. I didn't even know how much value it actually could bring just to know about AI. And so that kind of ticked in my head. And so I talked about it with you, Mom, and you told me, put a post on LinkedIn and see, maybe someone will be interested in that. So I did. And for the first time in my life, the same exact day, 2 people contacted me to ask me for training. And like, it was a shock for me because I worked for like 3 whole years before that, trying to make at least €1 from struggle and hard work. And here I do like one post LinkedIn. I have no website. I have nothing ready. I just have the skills on AI. And someone tells me, I want to pay you $2,000 for this training. And so this was the shock for me. I was like, oh my God, can I live out of this? Because I haven't prepared anything, and some people are already interested. and I haven't put any work into it. So if I put work into it, can it actually work? For me, it was definitely easier to go for this training on AI than to build websites. Building websites is way more complicated in terms of organization, offer, etc. And so that was the hardest thing to do. It was to tell myself, okay, do I give up all the work I've put in for the last month on the website? And do I start over again for like kind of a fourth time, actually, to start this training company? And what helped me make a decision was a book I was reading at that time. I was reading a book that you gave me, Mom, was Chill and Prosper, where in this book, so I don't have the name of the author, but
Denise
Denise.
Duffield Thomas.
Right. Denise Duffield Thomas tells you that you can become a millionaire by not doing that much effort, like by not complicating your business or whatever you're doing. And I was like, that's exactly what AI is for me. It's not complicated. I don't have to put in efforts like I did before. So, all right, I'll take the risk, shut down everything I did for an entire month, started over again. That was when I didn't have a job. I graduated, so I had no income. I was saving, of course, for this period, but I gave myself 4 months to be able to just sign at least 3 clients in 4 months. Otherwise, I would get a job. And so I took that risk knowing that I lost a month. So now I'm down to 3 months, starting over to try to get clients. So that's basically how it happened. And
so what was the result? What's the result?
So the result was amazing because after 3 months, I signed multiple clients. And today I'm living good out of it. I have clients every single week and I'm loving what I do. Like compared to making websites where we kind of, with my associate, we kind of forced ourselves into it. This time it's like our passion. We love AI. And so the feedback that we get from people that we train is always like, my God, you're so passionate. And so we really like feel and you really transfer this energy and this knowledge in a great way. So I'm just really enjoying it. And I'm finally living out of my work. And that's like the best thing. So I'm living out of it and now I can start scaling.
And so tell us a little bit about, I mean, you've had setbacks and failures. Is there one maybe that you'd like to talk about, one failure or setback that has shaped kind of who you are today?
Well, for me, the first failure is really my first company. Why? Because you put like a whole year of work into it. You put a lot of money into it. You're still a student, so it's money that you'll never kind of get back. So you invest into something and it did not work. Like when I say did not work, it did not work. I sold like 4 choppers out of like a whole year of work. Maybe more, maybe like 5 or 6. I don't know. But it was just a whole mess, a big, big failure. And I think that successful entrepreneurs, this is where the shift happens. Are you willing to keep going and start over, or to keep going and try again and not give up after the first company failure? Most of the billionaires will tell you the company that made them billionaires is not the first one they created. And they always tell you they created like 4 or 5 before this one who succeeded. And so I don't see it as like it's a failure, but I see it as like the best investment in my life because it helped me get this mindset of don't give up, keep trying. One day it'll happen. Believe in your dream. And I invested money in knowledge. Everything I learned from this first company, I still use it today. Like on website marketing, like ads, any type of skill is useful for every type of company that you build. So that's the biggest failure that shaped who I am today. It helped me not give up. It helped me understand the world of entrepreneurship, and it was the best investment in my life. Because some people will tell you, oh, it didn't work. I lost 5K. I will tell you, it didn't work, but I invested 5K in learning and training, and it got me like K for my third company to lose 5K for this first one.
Okay. And so you didn't make it mean anything about you personally, the fact that it didn't work out. At some point in time, did you ask yourself that question? Did you ask yourself, I wasn't cut out for this? What am I doing? Did you have those kinds of thoughts, or was that not even something that crossed your mind?
I'm a very optimistic person, so I rarely tell myself like, oh, I'm not fit for this, it'll never work. I've had doubts, of course. I think the biggest doubt for me was when I had this shift from creating websites to creating a training company. So I definitely had doubts, but I've always been kind of the optimistic side, and I read books that helped me before building the first company. I read books that helped me shape my mindset and that helped me realize like, hey, it's fine. It's fine. It's part of the process. So, and I think really you, Mom, contributed a lot to my mentality, because it's the mentality of I don't want to set barriers in my head. I don't want to give myself limits. I don't want to tell myself I can't do this. I want to tell myself I can always do anything. I just have to put in the work and the energy to reach this goal or anything. So I don't know if I answered the question correctly, but
Yeah.
yeah,
there's
I'm more, but it's interesting because see, my associates are more like negative on that. So they have way more doubts than I do. But I'm kind of the optimistic who will bring them back up. I'm always the leader actually in both my companies in terms of I set the deadlines when they are feeling low. I say, hey, we're going to do it. It's fine. Like I'm always the one being optimistic, setting the energy and not giving up. And like, hey, we have doubts. It's fine. It happens. Let's just keep going.
And so there are also some things that I want to come back to that I've also observed in your journey that I'd love for you to talk about. So one of the things that always impressed me was how much you put yourself out there. So in your second company, which was the startup, you entered a lot of, I don't know, if competitions or to win money or visibility or get, coaching or consulting. Tell us a little bit about like how putting yourself out there and doing things that scared you, and maybe they didn't scare you, but tell us how putting yourself out there into the world contributed to the success that you're having today.
Yeah, that's a great question. Putting yourself out there, for me, there's two subjects in one. The first subject is how do you put yourself out there? And then the second one is like, what does it bring? So for me, first of all, how did I put myself out there? It's the word that I love. It's the word to dare. I dared sending messages to people who didn't know me. I dared going on a stage with 400 people in front and pitch my startup. It's all about daring. And a lot of people don't dare because they're afraid of like, oh, how will this person see me? Or how will he react? Or, oh, I'm bothering him. And these are thoughts that I don't have because I'm 100% convinced that if this person doesn't want to reply to you, he won't, and he'll forget about you right away. And that's it. That's like the worst thing that could ever happen to you. The person will forget about you after a couple seconds. So that's why I have no issues with the word daring. So that's the first step. And then what it brought me actually is the best thing ever. That's definitely what brought me success. It's so much easier to put yourself out there than to like send emails cold leads that don't know you. This is like a way to get clients, but it's difficult. You have to do like a lot of quantity. But putting yourself out there, you're like participating to contests, so you're in front of 400 people at once. So that's the best way to get leads, actually. or you go to like networking events, associations that work on the same topics as you, and you tell him, hey, I'm an expert. Can I do a webinar for your people? Just asking. And, I asked like 50 people, and there's one that tells me yes. And then this same one, I did a great job for him, and word of mouth spread, and that's how it goes. So putting yourself out there gives a lot of word of mouth. And I believe that this is the best way to get clients. I think that prospecting is a great way and ads is a great way, but it's way more difficult than putting yourself out there. It also helps me a lot personally because it helps me get out of my comfort zone, because I'm not that social, actually. Maybe you don't see it, but I'm kind of an introvert. And it kind of really pushes me to get out of my comfort zone and to work on the aspects that I could like grow on and etc. So it was positive in multiple ways for myself, for my company, and long term. Long term, like the word of mouth is the biggest thing that it brings me, because today people in my region, it's very local. So people in my region really know me, and I try to hit many different like associations, groups, companies, events. I try to go everywhere I could for like 2 months. And that's what brought me all my clients today, like 90% of them.
Okay. So would you say also that building relationships and contact with people, because you're selling a service, so people are buying you, they're buying your expertise, they're buying, your personality. But so much today, I think, is online and, and tech and digital. Were you surprised that actually the networking, the meeting people, the word of mouth has had such an important impact?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what surprised me is that actually people, see, I always train, like I always find training by myself, and I have no issues with training myself, like training online when I find resources. But what surprised me is that that's like not the case for 90% of the population. 90% of the people do not want to take the time to like train by themselves. So what I do is training mainly, and people love the human contact. Plus, it has a big thing to do with what I teach, because AI people are scared that AI will replace them. So the fact that I'm a human and I will train them on AI is like a big thing for them. What surprised me is that people would tell me, oh yeah, I saw the training online, but I just didn't want to follow it. I should, but I just don't want to. And then they're willing to pay me to literally say the exact same thing than this training online. So I think that people are really enjoying the human to human contact for training, consulting, and that's definitely helping a lot. And so when I meet them, they can put a face to like an expertise. So they see me and they're like, okay, that's an expert. Having my startup helps me a lot to tell people that I'm an expert. They usually don't doubt it at all. And they usually actually tell me, oh, it's wonderful what you're doing with your startup, because we're actually on a very sensitive subject. So yeah, seeing people, I forced myself to like do a 2-hour drive just to go to an event for 1 hour at the beginning, just to show, hey, I'm here. This is me. This is my expertise. And yes, it really, really helped, because now these people, I don't see them face to face often, but they contact me by email now every single week because they know who I am. And the first contact is always super important.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to meet people and tell them what you do and how you can help them, in short. And, it's planting those seeds for the future. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you talked also a little bit, I know you read a lot. You spend a lot of time also, as you said, learning. So learning yourself, taking online courses. Is there a book or, I mean, you already mentioned one, but is there a book or training or even a mentor who inspired you most besides your mother?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, um, for me, the mentor, the mentor that inspires me the most is called Alex Hormozy and his girlfriend Layla Hormozy. They inspire me a lot because they are self-made multimillionaires in America, and it's a couple. They build everything together, and they, at some point in their journey, they were at minus $100,000. So, and they took the risk, and it's so inspiring to see that these people were willing to take the risk of losing so much to get to where they want. And I really appreciate their mentality. They post a lot on social medias on mentality and tips on how to sell, etc. So they're definitely my mentors. I read their 2 books, and it made a huge difference in how I sell today and how I build my offers. It's very inspiring to see them as a couple because my associate is as well my spouse. And he is as well very inspiring for me because he is very different from me. And he's good on stuff that I'm not good at. And that's a good way as well to like be inspired. I'm inspired by his strength, his mental strength that I believe I don't have it as much as him. And I identify myself as Layla and Alex with him, basically. So that's kind of the mentality here going on in the house. So these are great mentors. And then books. The first book that did a big shift for me was a money book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That basically taught me all about the basics of money that you don't learn at school. And then the mentality shift was Think and Grow Rich. It's, I think, like maybe 14, the 14 principles, the 14 mentality skills to have to just get your goal. And like it talks about being rich, but it can be any goal. It could be like a sports goal, a diploma goal. It could be anything. And that really, really did a huge difference on my mentality because it was all about being resilient. Just if you don't give up, you cannot fail long term. If you don't give up, at some point, you're going to succeed. And that's what happened to everyone. It's just everyone has its own path, and some will succeed at 18, some will succeed at 60, some will succeed at 40. It's just don't give up, and at some point it'll pay. And that's the big, yeah, this book was really, really amazing for me.
And was there one belief or mindset shift that helped you grow into who you are today as a business owner, as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think the biggest shift was really believing, but like believing like you have zero doubts that you're going to reach your dream. Believing so hard that you're going to get it and visualizing you having this dream and reaching this dream was like the biggest shift because it's a work of like convincing yourself, but once you're convinced, your brain is like, okay, so I'm gonna reach it. And then you set a deadline and you tell yourself, okay, so I want to reach it before I'm 30. And so your brain is like, okay, so I have 6 years left or 7, so we need to come on, let's work, let's get to work. Where do we start? And so just because you're convinced that you're gonna get it and you tell yourself, I'm gonna get it at this time, your brain is forcing itself to be creative. And it gives you the energy to like work a lot or work smarter because you have this deadline. It's kind of fake deadline because it's you just put this deadline to yourself, but you did this work of convincing yourself that you're going to reach this deadline. And so your brain becomes creative and you just put the work in it, and that's basically what helps me every day. I'm like convinced that I'm going to get to where I want. I have no doubt.
And so it hasn't all been rainbows and daisies and unicorns. Is there one moment that was tougher for you that you want to share?
Yeah, there are actually two very big points concerning this question. The first one for me is the people around you. So the people around me, not my mother, of course, but the people around me, like friends, like family, but like larger circle, they don't believe in what you're doing. Or they'll tell you you're working so hard, it's never gonna work, or like it's just you're losing your youth. Like, and we get that so much. So many people are like, and when you show what you do and they're like not impressed, or like they doubt what you do, and or they're telling you like, or you can see in their eyes and what they tell you that they don't believe that it's gonna work. And that's like the first part that it's hard, is like I don't find a lot of people to whom I can speak about my mentality and my work, except people that are in the same world as me, typically my mother, because it's not normal. Like people my age, they don't understand what we're doing. They are convinced that we're destroying our days because they're convinced that it's not going to work and that we're going to find a job after and that we lost our 20s. And so this is like the first hard part, is like no one believes in you. Besides, I'm lucky that my mother and father believes in me, but it's not the case of everybody. I'm actually pretty lucky that my parents believe in me, but that's definitely the first point that's hard. You're kind of by yourself. So you need to be strong enough to stay convinced, even though everyone around you tells you that it's not going to work. So that's the first point. Second point that was hard was before graduation. Before graduation, our startup was still not making money. It was taking much longer than we thought to build what we wanted. And it took us like 4 to 5 months to figure out what are we going to do once we graduate. Do we get a job, but our heart doesn't want to? Do we take the risk of getting into entrepreneurship with a third company, but it means we restart from zero? This was like 4 months of discussion with my associate and spouse. And that was the hardest because, hey, do we want to secure money and then start a company like during the weekends? Like it was complicated questions because you start with no money because you're starting in life. You didn't have a job. We have savings, but I mean it's not gigantic savings, and it's a risk. So that was the hardest part. I remember we went to the US for 3 months last year for an internship for our diploma, and I remember for a month being very affected by this thought of what are we going to do after. And it had an impact even on my relationship with my spouse. And what helped us get out of this is figuring out what are our actual core values. What do we really want deep inside? And that's what helped us get an answer. Okay, we'll take the risk because we'll be happier like this. And we'll give everything we have for 4 months. And if we don't succeed, at least we tried. But I was like, I will succeed in 4 months because I don't want to get a job in 4 months. So I put myself a deadline, and that's why I worked so hard for 4 months. But it worked. Okay. But yeah, I listened to my core values, and that's where it brought me.
No, I think it's really important to be able to do that. So, and having that maturity at 23 to be able to ask yourself that question, I think is amazing.
And I was 22 when
and you
I
were
asked
22. And the other thing is, and I've been witness to this also about so many people questioning what you're doing, not understanding what you're doing, like going against the norm, the societal norm of coming out of college and getting, a safe job or whatever. So what kind of support system Because it's true, entrepreneurship feels very isolating sometimes. So it's true that you have associates who are wonderful. But at the same time, are there other support systems that you've put into place? Like, what else has helped with that constant, coming up against people who are questioning you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, first, again, I don't know if it's luck, but my parents that are not against me helps me because the people I care about the most are my parents, my spouse, my sister. And these people don't doubt. And as long as so that's my close system, and this close system supports me. So that helps. Secondly, so that must be weird for you guys, but I have 2 cats and they are my kids. And when I went to the US, I had to leave them for 3 months, and it contributed, it contributed on the fact that I was feeling really bad. And having my 2 cats is actually so helpful for me. As soon as I get away from them, I feel more isolated, but when I'm with them, I feel at home. I don't know how to explain it, but it actually helps me. Third, I take care of myself. And I think the fact that I take care of myself helps me because it makes me think I'm a badass because I do, like, people maybe doubt me, but they don't go to the gym every single day at 6 a.m. They don't have a good diet. They eat terribly every single day. They party and drink alcohol every single night. And I don't do that. And so I have a way healthier life. And that helps me, like, be reassured, like, I'm good with I like, it's like I'm good. I'm a good company to myself, kind of. That's one point. I'm like, I enjoy myself. I like myself. I like what I do. And I think that's very important. My number one priority is to always be happy no matter what I do. So, I make sure that this always happens, that I'm always happy. And that really contributes to, yeah, you can tell me what you want. You can tell me that you don't believe in me. I'm happy, so I don't care. Kind of. And then third, I still have friends that even if they don't understand me, they're still curious. They ask me question, how's it going? Because I think that deep inside, they wish that I'm actually gonna succeed. And so they're still curious to know, or they're curious to know if I failed. And so they still ask me questions about it. And I'm always like, oh, it's going great. It's working. And yeah, so that helps as well.
Okay.
But I think everyone copes with that question differently. I think a lot of people need more socialization, social. Sorry, I didn't get the word. To be more social in general, which is not my case because I'm an introvert. So I don't need too much social events or anything. I just need to feel good at home, to feel good in my body and in my mindset, and to know that I'm growing every day, and that's enough for me.
Okay. We could go on forever because
Yep.
Mallory and I have had these conversations, and it's been wonderful for both of us to move along our entrepreneur journey together. And she has also been a huge support for me. So as much as she's mentioned that, I've supported her, my husband and I have supported her, she has also been a huge support. And I think it's that 100% belief that no matter what, it's going to work. You might not know how, you might not know when, but that unwavering belief, which also I think helps when people don't believe in you or people don't understand you. It's actually okay. It's okay that they don't get it or that they don't understand, because you're not living your life for other people. You're living your life for you. And so it's been a huge help, I think a mutual help between Mallory and I to be on this entrepreneurship journey together, which is also why I wanted to have her on today. Mallory, is there anything else about your journey that you would like to share before we talk about, how people can reach out to you and get in touch with you?
I think I pretty much covered everything. I would just give maybe two advice that are the advice that helped me the most. First, dare, like, really, one day I sent a message to the mayor's, like, not assistant, but the second mayor of a very big city in France, and he responded. And he gave me a huge visibility. But it's just because I dared send him a message. He had no idea who I was, no idea what I was doing, but it still worked because I dared. So really daring is my first advice. It's the best thing that I ever started doing. And I got this advice from a successful entrepreneur that I got on the phone one day. I said, what's the best advice you can give me? He said, dare. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, I succeeded because I sent a letter to the president and he replied. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And so it's exactly that. Dare. And second advice, that I had in mind, make sure to have people around you, people that can bring you, like, get good contacts, get a good lawyer, get a good accountant, get a good bank. It's so important. People that are here to help you grow and that are not here to take your money. They're here to make money and to help you make money. I think that's so important. And I found a great lawyer, a great accountant, and a great banker and insurance. He does insurance and bank, and it really makes stuff easier.
Okay. Beautiful. So if anybody listening wanted to get in contact with you and either go through your training program or hire you for their company training or other services, how do they do that?
So you can contact me through, first of all, LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I have a link if you want to get an appointment with me, get on a call with me. And I have as well my email, phone number, so you can call me or email me anytime. Otherwise, if you want to follow my training, I do or custom-made training for your company. So we get on a call, I understand your need, and I build you a personalized training or consulting mission. Or you can follow a pre-made training on my website, which is a training with the first workshop is free. So you get to see what I can bring to your job and your skills. And then you get to see if you want to continue with the training. And that's on my website. So you have videos online and workshops live with me. Those are my two offers. And I hope that we get to meet and get on a call. Don't hesitate. Or even if you want to collaborate, I'm open to collaboration.
That's a great topic that we didn't discuss today. That will be a topic for another day, is collaboration. This has also helped. Okay, great. This has been wonderful. Of course, I'm sending you a big, big hug. And we are seeing each other this weekend, which always, warms my heart because we actually live quite far away now. So thank you, Mallory, for being here. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. And I will link everything in the show notes. Thanks, Mallory.
Thank you so much. Bye.